Hey, my friends, welcome to the Dallas Daily Show. It's one of my favorite times of the week. You know what time it is. It is the midweek mind shift. Today, we are talking about momentum. So let's go ahead and get into the conversation. All right, my friends, welcome to the podcast. Again, I love to do these midweek mind shifts. There always tend to be a little bit more content on these days rather than the normal Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday pattern that we do, the shorter format. But I want to tell you a funny story because we're going to talk today about this concept of momentum. And I was giving this talk actually just a few days ago, and I actually started thinking about this old story from when I used to live in California. We were poor actors in California. That was a really big part of of what we did. And I had an old beater car that was with me that went out to California with me. And when we were first out there, the first summer, it was superbly hot. And I used to drive down to a place called Knott's Berry Farm. I was a stunt performer, one of the cowboys in the Wild West show, and I would go from where we lived in Burbank down the five, Interstate Five, and Santa Ana Freeway, as some people know it, but. I would go from Burbank down to where Knott's Berry Farm was. And it was not a short trek. And add to that the traffic of the normal LA traffic. And you had yourself a real nice mix of overheating and frustration. So one of the summers was very hot. There was construction on the five. And by the way, you might be noticing, maybe that's new for you. LA folks, we have a way of addressing our highways and naming them with the word "the" in front of them. The 101, the 405, the 5. I guess it's because all of them have a personality worthy of the article that we have to give them respect. I think that's probably what it is. So I was going down the 5. Actually, I remember quick side note, when I moved back to St. Louis from the Los Angeles area, I would say like, "Hey, are you going to take the 70 out there and then go around to the 270?" And people would look at me very oddly and be, "What? Where are you from, dude?" And I'd say, "Well, I was born and raised in the St. Louis area." And they're like, "No, no, no. What are you doing with that?" And I go, "Oh, what you talking about? You take the 40 West, right?" And they'd be like, "We don't put a the in front of our we don't put a the in front of our highways here." It seems like it's a Western thing, a California thing. I don't know if other cities do it, like the 85 and the 75 in Atlanta. I don't know if they do it that same way. But anyway, back to point. I was going down the five, and I would sit in traffic for hours at a time. And it was to the point where, in the dead heat of summer, my car started overheating on the regular when it sat still for any length of time. We would stop and it would overheat just a little bit. And the temperature would go up, and the AC, if I ever had the AC on, that would increase the temperature. So, got to the point where one time traffic was so bad and the car was so close to overheating, and we were going so slowly on the highway that I actually turned off the engine, shifted the car into neutral, cracked the door of the car open, and began to push the car forward with my left foot. All I had to do was we were going so slowly that my foot actually was able to move the car forward. And it was just a couple inches at a time, couple inches at a time. Once it started to open back up past 3 miles an hour, then I finally shifted the car back on and got down to where I needed to went, got more water in it, all of this stuff. But it was one of those things where it was like, at least I'm moving forward. And I think that's a big part of what we sometimes think is happening in our lives, especially if we're trying to become one of these future versions of ourselves. Remember, here in the Mind Shift call, we're always talking about this concept of there are two versions of you out there. There's a future you that you want to avoid, and there's a future you that you want to embrace. On the future you want to avoid. This is the version that you don't want to become this person. This is a non-ideal outcome. This is the person who's broken, who's sick, who has has broken relationships, who when they look back at their life, they say, "It just didn't work out the way I had originally hoped." And a lot of people find themselves on the trajectory of a subpar reality that is not the destiny to which they should achieve, because we find ourselves in automated activity. We find ourselves in places where we just go along to get along, and we kind of live through robotic living. And yeah, we might make some mindset changes every now and again, but we're often on a trajectory of where we don't want to go. And then there's the future you on the other side, the future you want to embrace. This is the one that, when you think of this is the ideal outcome. You have the health you want, the wealth you want, the relationships that are rewarding spiritually, physically, relationally, professionally, financially, right? Mentally, emotionally, environmentally. It's the version of you that you say, yes, that's who I ultimately want to become. So that's the future we want to aim for. But sometimes trying to get momentum into that future can feel a lot like, man, there's a lot of overheating. But I'm here to tell you today that even if you feel like you're just putting it in neutral and you're just pushing yourself along 1 foot at a time, you're still continuing the momentum. And so for the rest of our conversation together today in this MindSHIFT episode, we're going to talk about some of the things we need to know about momentum. And you've heard me, if you've listened to this pod for any length of time, you've heard me say that momentum is always built moment by moment, right? Momentum is built moment by moment. And one of the first things we need to understand is momentum is a choice. Momentum is a choice. And if it's built moment by moment, what that means is we have the power to build into our lives either negative momentum toward a future we want to avoid, or positive momentum toward a future we want to embrace. Because if it's built moment by moment, then that means whether negative or positive, we're choosing constantly whether we're building moment by moment toward what we don't want, or moment by moment toward what we do want. And I heard this concept a couple of years ago. You don't lose momentum. See, a lot of people talk about, man, I was getting some real momentum in my health and then I lost momentum. No. You actually choose to give up momentum. Think about that. You don't lose momentum, you choose to give it up. And actually, I wouldn't even say you choose to give it up completely, because you're going to move in one of two directions. You're going to move toward a future you don't want or a future you do want. So you don't lose momentum toward the good. What you do is you choose a different direction and you start building momentum in the wrong direction, on the wrong trajectory. So the first thing we have to understand in this concept of momentum in our lives, the things we want to pick up steam, right? The things where we're like, man, everything seems to be going in the right direction. I'm feeling a lot of momentum in my business, feeling a lot of momentum in my marriage, feeling a lot of momentum in great ways with my children. All of those are because I'm choosing to manage the moments, and I'm choosing to aim at the target of who I want to become, rather than going on autopilot. Because every time I go on autopilot, I don't lose the momentum. I choose momentum in the other direction, the direction I don't want to go. So momentum is a choice. That's one of the first things we need to understand. The other thing too is a lot of people feel like they build momentum once they get motivated. Right. So a lot of people, we watch the motivational videos. Heck, I mean, you listen to this pod because this is daily stories of insight and inspiration, right? The pod here is designed and meant to actually motivate you a little bit. I understand that. And we have so many motivational tools at our ready. We can go onto YouTube and we can listen to David Goggins do this thing, right? And we can listen to Andy Elliott do his thing. Or we can listen to Tony Robbins, or we could listen to Mel Robbins. She's awesome. And she could be like, hey, let them count to 5 and get started. Like, we could go and listen to all these amazing people, Brené Brown. The list goes on and on and on. And we can get a little bit of motivation, right? But motivation is a mood. Momentum is a choice, right? Go back to number one here. We said motivation is the mood, momentum is the choice. And usually what people say is, man, I need a little bit of motivation to get me started so that I can pick up momentum so I can take the right actions in my life. Think about that. Motivation, we think, let me say that, let me preface, we think motivation actually builds momentum toward the right action in the trajectory of the outcome we want. And I would like to actually turn that on its ear a little bit. We think motivation creates momentum, which prompts action. However, it's action which builds momentum, which increases our motivation. See, if motivation is a mood, motivation is one of these things where you're like, yeah, I got to feel like I'm in the mood. I need a little video to pump me up. That's just a mood, right? And we think that that mood is going to create the momentum in our lives, which is going to prompt the right type of action. But again, we actually have to go, no. I'm going to choose action because the action creates the traction. Ooh, that rhymed. The action creates the traction that gets us in the right trajectory. If momentum is a choice, it starts with choosing to take action. Action builds momentum. Momentum increases the motivation. That's a really intriguing thought. Action, choosing to say, I don't want to work out. I am not motivated to work out today. However, I'm going to take the action of going for the walk, going to the gym, getting on the treadmill, getting on the bike, doing the push-ups, taking the yoga practice, whatever it might be for you. Going to lift the weights, right? Choosing to simply take action. That is a choice in the right direction, and that builds moment by moment by moment, moment. That picks up momentum. And once that momentum starts going on you, my friend, oh my gosh, I'm starting to look better. I'm starting to feel better. I like the person that I'm seeing in the mirror. Then the momentum picks up and it motivates you toward more of the same good actions. So we have to get out of this idea of thinking I need motivation to pick up momentum to get action. And instead we have to flip that and we have to start saying, no, I have to choose action, which is going to build the moment by moment because that's how I'm building my momentum. And the momentum is actually going to fuel me for greater motivation. So question for you. What's one small action that you need to take this week that's going to push you forward? What's the one thing you need to do? Even if you feel like you've been in neutral, can you stick your foot out the door and push it forward just a little bit? So that's a thought I have for you. What's one small action that you need to take this week that's going to push you toward your goals, whether you feel motivated or not? Another thought for you here. So number one, we got momentum is a choice, right? Number two, we need to understand that momentum doesn't start with motivation. It starts with just movement, with action. Momentum starts with action, and that picks up motivation. The third thing we have to understand is progress is going to beat perfection every time. Again, the idea is inspiration will ignite you, right? Motivation will excite you, but it is a commitment to consistency, which will increase the momentum that will ultimately transform you. So momentum builds with one thing, consistency, not perfection. It builds with small progress. Missing one day won't ruin your progress, right? Quitting will, because quitting sets you in the wrong trajectory. So even if you're barely moving forward, even if you feel like you're about to overheat, what is the one thing you can do to stick your foot out that door and push your car along in your life? Sometimes you can't keep your foot on the gas, right? Sometimes you actually have to put your foot just on the ground and push yourself just a little bit. Momentum is momentum no matter the size. Because again, you're either building positive momentum or negative momentum, depending on how you choose to manage your moments. So we have to understand momentum is a choice, right? Number one. Number two, momentum doesn't start with motivation. It starts with movement. It starts with action. And then we have to understand too, small progress. Progress is going to beat perfection. Progress is going to build momentum. Progress is going to keep you moving forward, even if it's small progress. So no matter the size, you still are moving ever so slowly in the right direction. It's going to pick up. No matter the traffic jam you're in, it's going to pick up. Forward is forward. Toward your future you want to become is toward the future you that you want to become. So momentum is a choice. Momentum doesn't start with motivation, and progress beats perfection. That's three things we need to think about in this. Now, there's just two other things that I want to touch on in this idea of building momentum toward the right direction of your life. And we'll get to those in just a minute. But first, here's a quick word from our sponsors. If you are a business professional and you're looking to lose 25 to 50 pounds of that stubborn belly fat over the next 90 days, I want to tell you about one of the programs from our sponsors, the Shed Fat Fast program with Joel Staley. Joel has helped over 1,500 clients lose all of that fat, get in the best shape of their life, and he does it with a proprietary fasting protocol that's guaranteed to get you results without giving up the food that you love. I know it works because I'm in the program right now, and I'm telling you, this thing is getting me results. I know it can get you results as well. He's got a free training for you. Go to shedfatfast.com. That's shedfatfast.com. Check out his free training. And when you call in, be sure and mention that you heard about it from the Dallas Daily Show. Hey, everybody, I just want to give a quick shout out to our studio sponsor here at Neighborhood Loans Studio in St. Louis, Missouri. If you're in the market for a new home, look no further. Their 5-star team is excellent. They can help you get what you need. And I can personally connect you with their team, or you can check out their website, neighborhoodloans.com. Again, that's neighborhoodloans.com, or feel free to call them 314-658-9400. Again, that's 314-658-9400. And even though the studio's located here in St. Louis, Missouri, they can service you nationwide. So trust me when I say you are in the best hands with Neighborhood Loans. All right, so we're talking about this concept of momentum, that it's a choice, that it doesn't start with motivation, it starts with action. We got to choose action, and we have to understand that forward progress is forward progress. It's always going to beat perfection. Here's the other thing too. A lot of people will choose to give up their forward momentum when they meet resistance. Now, we've talked about resistance on, I think, a few MindSHIFT episodes ago, right? Resistance is normal. Tough days are normal. Cravings are normal. Distractions are normal. That is part of it. When you hit the resistance, you know you're pushing forward through old patterns into the new you that you want to do. So the real threat is not resistance in building momentum. The real threat is regression. Regression is when you start craving your comforts, the old you, the old patterns. When you start craving the comfort over your commitment, you're going to regress, and I'm going to just say, you're going to regress by progressing in the wrong direction. Does that make sense? So old habits are going to whisper at you, especially when you're about to break through to a new pattern, a new life, a new momentum that's going to cause even more motivation for you. Those old enemies, you've heard me say the Nietzsche quote in the past, when we are tired, we are attacked by ideas that we conquered long ago. Regression is the real threat here, my friend. It's not resistance. So when it comes to building momentum, as weird as it sounds, I want you to welcome the resistance in your life. See, so many people, let's use working out here as an example. So many people will feel the strain and the drain, and they'll feel a little bit of the pain. And what they say is, oh, I don't want to feel that way. So they fall back into the old patterns instead of telling them the story. And we've talked about microscripts on this pod So many times, especially in the original 5-part MindSHIFT series, we talked about this micro scripting ourselves. What is the story we're telling ourselves? When we hit the pain and the strain and the drain, do we tell ourselves, oh, I don't want to keep doing this. I'd rather just rest a little bit longer. I'd rather sleep a little bit more. We're making a choice, aren't we? And we're telling ourselves it's an uck, an ig, a sigh, a ugh. All of those things that we're telling ourselves. And then we go, man, I'd rather be in the bed. I'd rather not take that cold plunge. Ugh, I don't really want to stretch today. Ugh, I don't really want to meal prep. Ugh, I don't really want to plan my finances for the future. Ugh, right? We tell ourselves, we actually frame it in a negative mindset. Yeah, and I use the word mindset there for a reason. We frame it in a negative mindset because that is a present moment convenience. When we hit that resistance, we're choosing the comfort over the commitment. We're giving into the tough days, to the distractions, to the cravings, because once we hit resistance, we chose the path of least resistance. When we're tired, we're attacked by the ideas we conquered long ago. So the question is, what's one old pattern that maybe you've met some resistance on and you felt yourself pull back into it? I would invite you to the thought that you get back on that horse, right? You put your foot back out the door. You get back on that horse and you actually say, no, I'm going to choose to build another moment of positive momentum, moment by moment by moment by moment. And you're going to choose the right direction. And you're actually going to say, I'm leaning into this resistance because this resistance means growth, and this growth is going to motivate me for even more growth. Momentum doesn't start with the motivation. Motivation is the result of the momentum that's built by the action that I create through the choices I make on a day in, day out basis. So how can you this week lean into some of the resistance in the areas that you're leaning in for breakthrough? If you don't think you hit the wall before you hit the breakthrough, my friends, you've deceived yourselves. And what we have to do is we have to say, boom, there's the wall. That means I'm close to breaking through it. And you push and you push and you push and you go. And then it leads to the next one. Our final thought on momentum here today, okay? So 1, momentum is a choice. 2, momentum doesn't start with motivation. It starts with the action. 3, progress is always going to beat perfection. 4, we got to lean into the resistance because resistance means it's working. Resistance is the breakthrough point of momentum. Regression's the real threat. And then the number 5 thing we have to do here too is momentum is built a lot more if we're with others. Momentum is contagious. That's an amazing thought. Momentum is contagious, my friend. When you level up, other people around you start leveling up, right? Energy multiplies when you're in community. See, so often what we do is we hit the resistance and we isolate when we hit the resistance. This happened to me personally just this last week, or 2 weeks ago. I hit some resistance and I isolated away. I isolated away from my accountability partner with Jeff. My team was like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Hey, I just need some time." Yes, I needed to rest a little bit, but my wife can always tell when I'm like pulling away and in that isolation stage because I hit resistance and I'm just so close to breakthrough. But those old ideas start attacking me, the ones I thought I conquered a long time ago. When that begins to happen, it's very easy for us to isolate. But what we need to understand is isolation doesn't help us push down the walls and break through. There's an energy and a synergy in community that when we actually have people who are leveling up with us, when we are in a community of people who have a contagion toward momentum, when one of us is leveling up, the whole crew feels it, right? Your progress is going to inspire others. So they're going to show up for you. You're going to show up for them. You guys are going to keep moving forward together. So the question becomes, who is in your community? Who are the cheerleaders? Who are the coaches? Who are the mentors? Who are the people that want to get motivated with you because of the momentum that you've chosen to have with your action? And when you hit the wall, you can say, guys, I'm hitting the wall. Help me, because someone else is breaking through at that time. And they're going to say, come on, man, I'll see you on the other side. And they're going to pull you through your resistance into your momentum. It's not a solo sport, is it? Breakthrough, progress, future you. Part of future you is that you don't arrive there alone. You arrive there with others that you love. So the question I have for you today, what's one small action that you can take to push you forward? Because forward is forward, right? What are the old patterns that are trying to pull you back to the old you, toward a future you that you want to avoid? And who can go with you through it? Who can become your momentum partner this week? Really, it's an action accountability partner. Because again, as we said earlier, the action is what creates the momentum. The momentum is what creates the motivation. So who can be your action accountability partner this week? Maybe reach out to them and say, hey, can we have a conversation? I'd like to talk to you about being an action accountability partner. This is an area I'm wanting to break through, and I could use someone like you because I respect you, I honor you. You and I are in great relationship, and I trust you to tell me the truth. And when I hit resistance, you, my friend, are going to be the one to pull me through. So that's the idea. You have the choice to change, right? You can choose a different path. You can look forward to a better future. You can actually build the right momentum, but you can't do it necessarily alone and in isolation because you'll always fall back into the old patterns. So ask and see who you can bring along with you, my friend. All right, that's it. That's all I got for you today's midweek mind shift motivational moment. Get yourselves ready, but understand inspiration will only ignite you. Motivation will only excite you, but it is a commitment to consistent action that will build the momentum that will ultimately transform you. It is a commitment to consistent action that will ultimately build the motivation or the momentum, that's going to transform you. Get on the right trajectory. Become future you. I'm one of the champions. I'm one of those people who's in your corner saying, I know you can. I believe you can. I can't wait to see you become who you're meant to be. So go out there, my friend. Choose action. Build the momentum. Increase in the motivation. Become future you and have a championship day.
Thanks for listening to my dad's podcast. For more tools, go to DallasDailyShow.com. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.